Hello and welcome, dear listeners, episode 252 of the Reformed Gamers Show, all about theology, video games, and man, the Xbox 360. What a system. Let's talk about it. I'm one of your hosts, Logan.
And I am his co-host, Micah.
Micah, dude, I am ecstatic for this episode. You know, we're coming into this episode, we're like, man, what are we going to talk about with news? Kind of a light week, and then you brought one of the best suggestions ever to this show. It's like, why don't we just talk about, best 360 games and some of our favorite memories of it? And I'm like, oh my gosh, how have we not done an episode like this already, man?
Well, what got me thinking about it is because I can't remember what even got me on the thought, but I was like, the 360 is getting kind of old now, isn't it? And I looked it up, and I was like, I bet it launched in the fall, and it did. It launched in November 2005. So it's coming up on 18 years old. So I was like, man, this is like a nostalgic console now, I guess, for a lot of people. Let's talk about this thing. This really changed the mold, changed the script in a lot of ways for video games, for home console video games. And the 360 was a pivotal console. And of course, I think that in a lot of people's opinion, Microsoft is still kind of clamoring for that time in the sun, so to speak, in the spotlight, whatever. I don't even know if time in the sun is even a phrase. Anyway, but yeah, dude, I love the 360. So yeah, we're going to chop that up a little bit. We got a little bit of news to talk about. We're going to talk about Jim Ryan and stuff, talk about what we've been playing, but mainly this episode, is going to be dedicated to the Xbox 360.
Yeah, man, dude, I love it. I love it, man. I remember, I'll share this story a little bit, and then we'll get into some of the other stuff of the show and get in there. I just remember when I first got my 360, and it was like, I'm a man now. I'm a man. I've moved on from Nintendo. I am now a man, so it's just, and then my whole summer disappeared because of Oblivion. So thank you, Elder Scrolls, for that. That was
there you go.
Time. But yeah, man, we'll get more into that. Like I said, I'm stoked to get into it. 360 is probably one of my top 3 favorite consoles of all time, easily. But we'll get into that a little bit later on. Before we do, so a little bit of housekeeping we got to get into. As always, if you are a Patreon supporter, $5 tier and above, you got a new episode of Talk TRG to check out. I brought Nate back on the show from the Backlog Breakdown. We talked, of course, about Marvel Snap, but we talked a lot about other things such as, I'm blanking on it. I had it right here and then I just forgot. But no, we brought Nate on, had a really good time. It's always a good time to just kind of sit down with Nate and just chop some things up and talk about a couple different things. Some of the other topics we talked about is Alan Wake 2 and just the games that are coming out later this year. Kind of The Office and how America kind of milks entertainment. They just keep doing reboots and remakes and things like that. We got into that a little bit. The thing with fear, being squeamish, because I almost passed out. As like, Micah, you've probably heard of these, like the training to like do first aid, especially if like blood is involved and how to stop the bleeding and all that. Bro, I went to one of those because, I'm a teacher and I have to.
Sure.
Almost passed out when they brought the fake styrofoam, like appendage with some cuts on it. And I literally looked at my wife. I was like, I really think I'm about to pass out. And she's like, are you serious? And I'm like, I'm cold. I feel like I'm going to just fall right here. And so thankfully, she knows what she's doing. She talked me through it, and I was fine. And then after that, I got into it. But I was just like, dude, I need to talk about this with Nate or somebody because this was such a bizarre experience.
It sounds like y'all went down some rabbit trails.
Dude, we did, man. It was a 2-hour Talk TRG, and we just kind of let the conversation fly, man.
Excellent.
And it was a good time. We also talked about Fantasy Critic, talked about how Alex Castellanos just continuously just keeps getting the points, and we don't know if he's got some insider knowledge or if he's just a wizard, but we gave him his roses, so to speak, and his lumps of coal, so to speak, as well. So we're just like, he can't keep getting away with this, but alas, he does. Shout out to you, Alex. But yeah, another thing we started up, I was kind of like, every time we get into October, I'm like, I want to play some spooky games, right? Nothing too spooky.
Yeah.
But some spooky games nonetheless. I was like, I want to play some Silent Hill 3. I was going to play that last year and I never did. I want to play through Dead Space again. The Resident Evil DLC just came out. I want to play through Separate Ways. And I was like, man, I'm looking at Marvel's Midnight Suns. I'm like, that's kind of spooky themed, right? Like it's not scary, but it's got some spooky elements in there. It's got Ghost Rider, it's got Blade, it's got magic, it's got Nico, it's got a lot of the, the more kind of spooky Marvel characters. I'm like, why don't I play through that? And I mentioned in the Discord, and then there were several patrons that were like, yeah, that's been sitting in my backlog. I think I might play that too. I can't handle spooky stuff, but this seems like a good fit. I'm like, why don't we all just play it together like a book club? Get to certain points and then discuss it every week. And they're like, that's a cool idea. So we're doing that. If you're over on Patreon and you've got Marvel's Midnight Suns and you want to play through it, let us know in the Discord server for patrons, and we'll chop it up. I know we're getting to that first meeting, but don't let that stop you from joining if you want to get into it and maybe knock a game off your backlog. I gotta say, and I'll talk about something what we're playing. I slept on Marvel's Midnight Sun. Midnight Snut. Words are hard, man. Marvel's Midnight Suns, and it's not bad. I've got my complaints, but overall,
No, it looks like a ton of fun. I've never played what's the game that I'm blanking right now?
XCOM.
XCOM. I never played XCOM, so I don't
Mm-hmm.
really know kind of the source material of kind of the genre where it's coming from and stuff. But it looks fun from afar. Like I'd like to play XCOM, but I just never have.
Yeah,
But yeah, Marvel's Midnight Suns. I'm glad you are getting it booted up over there
yeah, man.
in the Discord. But yeah.
Yeah, it's a good time. Anyway, dear listeners, let's just get into what we're playing because I mean I got to talk about this Marvel Midnight Suns a little bit and gush on it a little bit. So let's get into it, man. Micah, kick us off with some TRG Kids. What are your kids getting into?
Yeah, we are, man. So we haven't had it, Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom took over the house when that game came out. Like
Yeah,
all three of my kids and I were all playing it, and Sea of Stars has done the exact same thing. Everyone is enchanted with this game. My son just beat it. He actually beat it before I did. And he's 8 years old. He told me it was his favorite game ever today.
really
Yeah.
nice.
So that's cool. So that was really perhaps his first turn-based RPG. So I definitely have. I was like, son, I've got some games to show you. Then if you like this, so that was cool to kind of talk about that with him.
Mm-hmm.
So they're still playing that, and actually, because of Sea of Stars, it got my son into The Messenger because he is
Interesting.
particularly good at platformers.
Okay.
So I was like, this is a pretty hard game. I've not played it, but
Mm-hmm.
you're welcome to try it. And he started playing it, and I was just watching him, and he's like crushing it already. He's like,
Oh
yeah,
my
this is pretty
gosh.
hard, but he's like crushing it. Like, okay, keep going, buddy. And so he's been playing The Messenger hot off the heels of Sea of Stars
Right
because he
on.
liked it so much. And we were talking about how there's some ties in the developer and all that stuff. And he's starting to
Yeah.
get in, like he's asking questions that a developer would need to answer kind of things. It's like
Okay.
he's really getting curious about a lot of that kind of stuff. So that's neat to see.
That's cool.
Yeah, very, very much so. But anyway, I'm just going to transition into what I've been playing, which is only Sea of Stars.
Mm,
It's been dominating my time. I'm one trophy away from a platinum on this game.
nice.
I just need to like restart a new game plus game and do a few hours of something, and then I've got it.
Okay.
Um,
Real
I
quick, how many platinums will that put you up to?
like total.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Let me pull this up real quick as I continue to talk. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Like
Sorry to put you on
140
the
or
spot.
something like that. No. I can load it in as I'm talking. But this game is so like there's something else you can do to get like the true ending for the game. So like I've
Mhm.
done that. Like I've done so many things. What I said last time, so I was really enjoying it, and it's like one of my games of the year and all this kind of stuff. But what's changed is that I've fallen more in love with the characters. Kind of
Mm,
shocker, like as the game
okay.
goes on and it sort of wraps up and culminates.
Yeah.
That tends to happen. So yeah, the characters are really great. The plot got way better, like way better.
Okay. Okay.
Um, so all that's really cool. I think my clock says about 45 hours, maybe close to 50, but I go slow on
Okay.
things. So maybe it might take a regular person about 40-ish hours if they want to kind of
Yeah.
complete everything like
Yeah.
I'm trying to do.
Mhm.
And Logan, when I get that platinum, it'll be 135 is what it'll be.
Dang, dude. Get it.
Um,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Um, it's a really well paced game. It's well scoped and well paced. I feel like you're always either getting in a battle or you're exploring, trying to find treasure chest or like how to do this puzzle that you're doing. Like I said last time, the puzzles are all very kind of small in scope and really kind of they don't take too long to figure out, and they're not too hard. Really,
Mm-hmm.
the game as a whole isn't all that difficult, and there's even some amulets you can turn on to make it even easier,
Okay.
which I wouldn't necessarily recommend if you want a bit of a challenge. But I don't
Sure.
think I died until like 90% through the game. Like I died for the
Oh,
first
wow.
time, I think, or
Okay.
something like that. So, but I appreciate all like the kind of simplistic nature. They kind of cherry pick all these things. Like we're going to take the action timing of Mario RPG, and we're going to take
Okay.
like you see the enemies in the like exploration field, like Chrono Trigger, and then you stay in that same screen and you battle
Yeah.
them. You don't go into a separate battle screen. We're going to take, they cherry picked all these different things and made this great soup of nostalgia. And the way that the developers called it is like they want to make the game like you remember it being in your head, not how it actually was. Like they're not trying to remake
Mm.
Chrono Trigger. They're trying to make it how you remember it in your brain with modern
Okay.
quality of life, kind of modern, sprites and pixels and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Um, and I think they've accomplished that goal. So this game is really solidifying itself as one of my favorite games of the year. Again, just a fantastic soundtrack. I want to shout this out. The guy's name is Eric Brown over at Sabotage Studios. He did the music. This is one of my favorite soundtracks ever.
Oh,
It's
wow.
like
Okay.
every track is like it may not be like you may not be vibing with it, but it's like no
Mhm.
doubt like this tone, like he nailed the tone for this level. Like you're just kind of like this is a cool track, and then you go into
Okay.
a different area, it's like this is a cool track, and you get into a boss battle or whatever, like this. Oh, dude, let's go! And it's like, dude, every single track is like exciting and new. It's like this is good. And it's
Man.
just like there's tons, like 50, 60, whatever. I mean, it's a ton of tracks.
Mhm.
So special shout out to the music in Sea of Stars. I'm getting to gushing territory, so I'll stop here in a little bit. It's certainly going to be one of my favorite games of the year. Right now, I think it's kind of right behind Tears of the Kingdom. I don't think it's going to
Wow.
top that, but it might be number two. No joke.
Dang.
I
That
love
good.
this game. Yes, yes.
Wow.
It's got that, got that platinum seal of approval in 2023 when I'm not
Okay.
taking a lot of time to get platinums,
That's true. That's true.
So, it's really got its hooks in me. It's got its hooks in all of my kids, and that's saying something for my eldest, who always plays Minecraft as well. So, yeah. I said last time not my highest recommendation. I changed that. This is my highest recommendation I would
Wow.
give a game. Don't skip Sea of Stars. It's on Game Pass. It's on free for PlayStation Plus
Man.
Extra. It's cheap. It's a good small indie team you should support anyway.
Mhm.
However you can get your hands on this game, play Sea of Stars.
Man, dude. That's awesome. That's really, really cool. I'm glad to hear that. I mean, I need to get around to playing this game at some point, too, but it's just, I don't know. I don't know when
Yeah,
that's going to happen.
carving out time for a 40, 50 hour game, whatever, however much time you want to spend with this. I don't know how you do it, but definitely don't like this could be one of those games I see people just like, oh yeah, I'll play it next year, and it just keeps getting
Mhm.
pushed out. Don't wait, man. This game is worth your time. It's very, very good.
Yeah, man. That's cool. That's good to hear. That is good to hear. Well, part of the problem with me trying to fit it in time for Sea of Stars is because I don't know why I keep playing RPGs at this point because they take forever. I was looking at the last show notes for the previous episode, and I was like, did I talk about Cold Steel 3? And I mentioned it. Did I finish it before? No, I didn't finish it. Okay. So I finished Cold Steel 3. 117 hours is how long it took me.
Man,
It was oh my gosh. So I'm saving it for the video, which I haven't even begun writing just yet because I just with robotics picking up and me trying to get everything set up for that, and my wife helping me, and then just all that other stuff going on. It's like I have very little time for YouTube. It feels like
oh,
so.
I
It's like I
understand. I
just
understand.
So I will just say this: Trails of Cold Steel 3 might be in my top 3 favorite Trails games. I'm still trying to work through that because it just it did it did some cool things. A lot of the stuff that was set up in the past games, like going all the way back to the first 3 games, was started paying off in this game. And as I'm going into Cold Steel 4, more of that is happening. And it just, Micah said Trails of Cold Steel 3 last time. I was, Trails of Cold Steel 4, I'm 30 hours into it. And
That's
it's,
cool. That's
I,
cool.
Cold Steel 4 has one of the best openings of the entire series so far. It's so unexpected. It's so awesome. I loved it. If anybody has already played Cold Steel 4 and they want to see my reaction to it, the video is up on YouTube because I live streamed the opening to the game. You can go check that out. But gosh dang, dude, the game just it keeps firing on all cylinders, and I'm just like, oh boy. I can tell though from looking at the walkthrough I'm using, this game is going to take me longer than Cold Steel 3 because I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of side stuff. There's a big amount more of just like the acts and the chapters and all that stuff and how the game's broken up. And I'm like, yeah, this one's going to take me a while. When people were saying in chat, this will probably take me the rest of the year to finish, I can believe it. I can believe
Okay.
it. But yeah, Cold Steel 4, loving it. The journey through the Trails games never ends. And for those that are curious, yes, I did see the announcement for Trails Through Daybreak.
Yeah.
And it's just exciting to know. I didn't watch the trailer because I'm like, I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm just like, it's
Okay. I
nice.
was going to ask you. I was going to ask.
Yeah, I saw the cover image of like the characters just like walking and the logo, and I'm like, that's all I need. That's all I need right now. And it's just nice to know my journey through Trails is not going to be ending anytime soon. It's going to continue well into 2024.
Very cool.
But yeah, Cold Steel 4 is going to take me a while to finish too because I keep playing some other games. I want to dabble in some other games. And this one had been kind of, Micah used the word percolating and kind of rising to the top a little bit over the last couple of weeks, with Starfield, people kind of moving on from that and checking out other games. And then, of course, with the release of the Phantom Liberty DLC and the 2.0 update, Cyberpunk 2077 has kind of risen back into the discussion of what games people are playing. And so I spent some time with it, got past the initial part that I had originally gotten to in the first game, which is where you first meet Johnny Silverhand, Keanu Reeves. And I played a little bit more beyond that, and I'm, doing more of the story and kind of just messing around with some things, exploring Night City. And man, I gotta say, this game is fascinating on so many levels. There's obviously some questionable content on there, and people already know about that. We don't need to get into that. And that's not the stuff that I'm talking about. I'm talking about, and I think I mentioned this the last time we brought this game up around launch, was just kind of getting into the discussion of what is it to be human, when you modify yourself so much, like how much, like, do you even have a soul? Like getting into those kind of questions, the stuff that really makes me think. Getting into good like ethical questions of where like you see all this corruption going about, is it okay to be a little more, what's the word? I guess like vigilante-ish and kind of like guerrilla style and attacking these corporations. And man, it asks some real fascinating questions, but it also gets pretty juvenile at times. I'm not gonna lie. But man, I gotta say, the new 2.0 update is pretty wild. Before you would equip your clothing and get like your armor rating and all that stuff, typical RPG stuff. They've done away with all that. So now the clothing you put on is just cosmetic. You get your armor stuff from your skill tree stuff, which has been completely revamped. I had to respec my character actually when I loaded it up.
Okay.
And man, it's really deep. It's really complex. It's kind of overwhelming to a degree, but it hasn't really gotten in the way of me playing the game and just kind of checking out Night City and see
That's
what's
one
there.
of the main reasons why I don't play the CD Projekt Red games. It's just too much. It's too overwhelming. And
Yeah.
I admire Cyberpunk from a distance, but I think I'm just gonna not dabble with that.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised. So let me ask you this, because we can kind of compare them a little bit. I'm surprised that Starfield isn't on these show notes tonight for you. So like, just didn't get your hooks in? Like, what is it about Cyberpunk that is versus Starfield, I guess?
It's kind of like what I talked about in the last episode. I got 11 hours in and I was just like, I'm just kind of bored. Like it's just not holding my attention enough, like consistently. It'd be these little moments where like I'd be into Starfield and then I'd be taken out of it. The unfortunate thing is the times where I'm taken out of it is like overshadowing the parts where I'm really into it. And I got to admit, don't really. Again, this is going to vary from person to person. I just didn't like the lack of actual space travel, where when you're moving from planet to planet, you're mainly just opening your menu and fast traveling a lot. So for some people, that's fine, and I get why that's fine because it speeds along the gameplay and stuff. But for me, there's just no exploration really, and if there is, I don't know how I missed it in the first 11
Does it feel
hours.
kind of disjointed compared to like an Elder Scrolls or something?
Yeah, a little bit because at least in like Elder Scrolls, like Skyrim. I mean, even though I don't really care for Skyrim, at least for that, you were walking around and kind of usually stumbling upon stuff pretty regularly.
Right.
Here, it's like you're fast traveling to this planet. Cool, you did the quest thing. Cool, go back to this other planet. You're fulfilling the quest. Now you're going out to another thing. It's just kind of like a lot of like very much in a weird way, kind of linear in how you're going about things. So it kind of scaled back on the things that made Skyrim and Oblivion those games, and even the Fallout games to that same degree. They scaled back on that and made it a little bit more linear, which again is appealing to some people, but for me, it just didn't hook me. Whereas in
Hmm.
Cyberpunk, like I'm literally walking through alleys, I'm driving my car around, I'm exploring things, I'm talking to characters, and it's not the whole like, hello, traveler, welcome to this outpost. What can I help you with? It's like the characters are all dynamic, they're moving, they're saying stuff that is at different inflection tones with different emotions tied to them. It's just not stiff and robotic unless you're talking to an AI or a robot in the game. Um, it's just more interesting. And I think because a lot of it has to do with modifying people's bodies and getting into that question of like transhumanism and what really makes a human, and there's robotics tied to it. That immediately engages me because now you're getting the philosophical stuff, you're getting the robotic stuff, the
Yeah.
engineering in there. And I'm like, dude, there's like a cyborg samurai ninja dude. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
this is really cool. I really like this. And so um, and just seeing how the different characters, the depths to which they've gone with augmenting their bodies and what that does to their psyche, and whether they're kind of more
Mm.
standoffish or angry or something, it kind of like lends itself well to like, yeah, that you're not really finding fulfillment in all this stuff, and so you're taking it out on everybody else because you're resorting to a life of villainy and all that stuff. It's just fascinating, man. And
Yeah.
just the overall design of some of the cars, some of the augments, some of the buildings and parts of Night City is just really fascinating because I'm seeing new areas I didn't get to see before because I hadn't been there.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's interesting, and the factions are really interesting too. And it's just, I don't know, it's just a lot of it has really just kind of hooked me, and I'm just really interested in this world. And some parts not so much, obviously, but there's
Sure.
other parts where I'm like, this is really cool. And plus, I mean, Keanu Reeves, come on,
Yeah.
man. Idris Elba's coming up at
Idris
some point
Elba.
in the game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, two of my favorite actors right there. So I'm very excited to kind of see them and
Are you playing on your PC?
playing on PS5 actually, because I had
Okay.
that on there and it was sitting there. I was like, oh, I'll get it on PS5. So
Okay.
when I get the new graphics card for this eventually, I'll play on PC. But
Good deal.
until then, I'll play on PS5. But yeah, that's Cyberpunk, man. That is
Excellent.
Cyberpunk. Last thing I do want to talk about Marvel's Midnight Suns real quick. This game, if anybody has played the old GameCube game Lost Kingdoms, very similar card-based combat. It's different than XCOM, where it's not. There's some strategy involved because you can move the heroes to certain spots, and that activates certain moves you can pull off. Like you can grab like an explosive canister and explode it, and it takes out 3 people. That sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but you get these cards that you get, and I was like, man, I don't know how I'm going to feel about this card system. Marvel Snap did a really good job, but can Marvel Midnight Suns do a good job making this a card game too? And I gotta say, it's pretty good. You build your deck of cards, and you build up your your heroism meter throughout each turn that you get. And depending on how much heroism you have, it dictates the kind of abilities you can use of the cards. And if you can't use those, you can use the environment to attack people. It's just a really cool mechanic. They did it really well, and it's not like some kind of microtransaction ridden garbo setup. It's actually like you play the game, you level up your characters, you get new cards through that, or you unlock new places in the forge or your base, and then you unlock more stuff there, and then you can add that to your deck and customize it. It's like, okay, this is actually really cool. This is really well thought out. So I shouldn't have doubted. I think it's Fire Axis is who made this. Shouldn't have doubted them. They did a really good job. The characters are really cool. I will say a couple things that are they're not really gripes. It's just things I'm like, don't really like this. I think the game looks like a 360 game.
Oh,
It is weird at how, especially when you get into like a pre-rendered cutscene, it really feels like a 360 game. For some people, that might not be a bad thing, but then when you remember this is a PS5, Xbox Series X type of game, it's like, yeah, that's a little weird. But then again, the XCOM games were never really like super realistic looking anyway. They had that kind of like um, cartoonish, interesting art style to it. And this game does have an interesting art style to it. It just doesn't, I just don't think it looks as good as what it could be. Some of the character models do look a little weird. I think Tony Stark looks a little off. I think Doctor Strange looks a little off. Even the main character you play as looks a little weird at times, just with how their body is proportioned. I don't
okay.
know. Maybe people will disagree with me on that. But that being said, what they get done really well is the costumes. The alternate costumes are so stinking cool. The Ghost Rider ones are really good. Captain Marvel's are really good. Blade has some really sick ones. Iron Man has some great ones. Just they're all great. They're all really great. Um, and so I'm really enjoying the game. The one thing I'm not really vibing with though is the subject matter. For those who don't know, and I didn't know, I've never read a Midnight Suns comic, so I went into this like not knowing what I was getting into. But the Midnight Suns is a group of like the supernatural heroes that fight against like supernatural darkness. So it's like demons, vampires, those sorts of things. And so the premise of this game is Hydra has resurrected Lilith, the mother of demons, and so you're fighting her, and she's corrupting a lot of the different heroes or villains in the Marvel universe and creating fallen versions of them that have like the horns and they look like real evil looking and stuff. Um, and so like that's a little iffy for me because you're getting into like dark magic and the glyph stuff and the iconography and all that, and it's like not really vibing with this. But I'm fighting the evil stuff, so I'm okay with it. But it's still just kind of eh. But overall, though, I do like it just because of the characters that are coming in. I like Ghost Rider. He's one of the ones I've always enjoyed reading those comics and just reading more about him and seeing some of the other heroes that are coming in. I did get the deluxe or whatever the Super Supreme edition was that comes with the
Okay.
DLC. So I've got
Yeah,
Deadpool coming in at one point. I got my boy Venom coming in at one point.
that's
So I'm
fun.
excited to play those. Storm's coming in. I can't remember. Morbius is the other DLC character.
Okay.
So it's really cool. I like it. I think they did a really good job with the license. I honestly thought this game was going to be trash. But no, I'm enjoying it. It's a lot of fun, and I'm interested to see what the other patrons are thinking of the game
Okay.
because yeah, it's just a good time, man. It's a good time. So yeah,
Is
Marvel's
there any
Midnight.
way to play multiplayer with the patrons, or is it just a single player experience?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't think it has multiplayer. I think it's just single player, but I can look into
Okay,
that.
that's
That'd
fine.
be kind
That's
of
fine.
cool.
Not a big
That'd
deal.
be kind of cool. If we play if any of the patrons are listening and we do get to play together, dibs on Captain Marvel. She's kind of OP. so so I said this in the Discord. I was like, man, this game is making me like Captain Marvel when the movie didn't do it for me. So it's working, man. It's working. But yeah, so we're having a lot of fun over there. Again, if you are a Patreon supporter, head on over to the Discord channel. Let's get you in there and let's get to playing the game together and discussing it. But let's discuss something else that happened recently, Micah. Man, this is big
Yeah, man, this is really the only big news item that I thought was even worthy to bring to the show, which
news.
is sort of what drove what's going to happen in the rest of the show. But yeah, we can't skip over this: the fact that PlayStation's head CEO, whatever you want to call him, Jim Ryan, is retiring this upcoming March 2024.
Yeah, man.
He has been the head of PlayStation since 2019. So when he's done, it'll be about 4 or 5 years or so. But he's been with PlayStation, particularly over the European region, for quite a long time, almost 30 years, all in all, with Sony. So, he's done his time there, but of course this has, ripples through the gaming world, the console gaming world. In the press release, they said that current Sony COO and CFO Hiroki Totoki will be the interim CEO while they look for a replacement for Jim Ryan. And of course, Jim Ryan famously followed up. I'm blanking. Sean Layton,
Mhm.
who exited Sony and had a lot of words to say about sort of the economics of AAA video games and stuff like that. And Jim Ryan took Sony in a different direction and really introduced sort of this games as a service push.
Yeah.
And so while, there's some thoughts, I think, among gamers about Jim Ryan, I know Alex wrote in to kind of ask us what we kind of thought about him.
Yeah, man. Alex writes in, as you can, if you are a supporter over on patreon.com, you can write into every episode. Alex writes in and says, "Hey, Logan and Micah. First, without joking or being sarcastic, I am looking for each of your best favorite Jim Ryan as CEO memories. After that, if you still feel the need to make a joke, go for it. Also, I'm looking forward to trying to keep up with you all with Marvel's Midnight Suns. Hopefully, I can do better with this than I do with the Legend of Heroes games, as Logan has totally blown past me on those." Alex, man, you got to get caught up, dude. It's Legend of Heroes. It's just doing things, man. Dang it, Alex. Thank you for writing in, dude. I was thinking about this, and I was trying to think of some of the things, and then I came across this quote here of one of those times where I just face palmed so hard. Where Jim Ryan was like, the PS1 and PS2 games, they looked ancient. Like, why would anybody play this? And I'm just like, dang it, Jim Ryan. Although to be fair, I mean, I know he went on to clarify it, but I got to be honest. I tried to play the old Twisted Metal games. I'm like, you know what? You're right. Why would anybody play this?
Oh man, rip! I got the platinum for Twisted Metal
I
1
know,
earlier.
I know you did, man, but I couldn't stick with it. I tried my best, and it just wasn't working. But I still remember that quote and just being like, Jim, Jim, what are
No,
you
you have
doing?
to have nostalgia to go back to some of those games. Like it's just like
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't go back. Like I had a PlayStation 1 during that era. I didn't have a Nintendo 64, so a lot of those games, like Banjo Kazooie, like I would never play that
Mm.
today. Like
Oh
just
my
no,
gosh, yeah,
like something like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
But I played Twisted Metal and had affinity for it, so you like, go back and that's it's just nostalgia. But
yeah.
favorite Jim Ryan movie? I had to think about this, Alex, and I do have an answer, but the real answer is I don't have one because he was so like Sony didn't talk during the Jim Ryan era.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have many showcases. They didn't show much.
Yeah,
He shifted to games as a service, which I'm suspicious of.
yeah.
And but one moment that I did like, I thought was pretty cool. Sony had been so silent leading up to the launch of the PS5, and we're always clamoring for this information. What's the price? What's the release date? What are the games? What's this, that, and the other? And then they finally had their like PS5 launch showcase, and this really well produced. And at the very beginning, he's talking, and he's like, "We're gonna let our games do the talking," and then it goes, and then like
Yeah,
drops out. It's like, and then
yeah,
it starts into. And I was like, "Whoa, okay, that's pretty cool." And then of course it
yeah.
starts in with whatever the heck, Miles Morales or something. I don't know what it was.
Mhm.
And yeah, they really brought it that showcase. But what's he? It's that conversation about inflation, cost of living, cost of game
Mhm.
development. It's unsustainable to AAA games. To have these 50 plus hour campaigns that take 5, 6, 7, 8 years to make and all this kind of
Mhm.
stuff. So
Yeah.
you gotta have some other way. And so Jim Ryan's way was, well, we're gonna have to have a push for live service and have to have one of these hits like a Fortnite or an Apex Legends or a Fall Guys or whatever.
Mhm.
And we're going to have 10 live service games by 2025, and only if one of those hits will be good. That kind of mentality.
Yeah.
And it's yet to be seen what's going to happen with all that as far as that roadmap that he has laid out for PlayStation. There's rumors going on right now as we record this that it is tumultuous internally at PlayStation Studios, and they're
Mm.
not really taking this pivot too well.
Yeah.
I've heard of some layoffs at Naughty Dog. I've heard of some layoffs at other internal studios and just other studios around, just in general, just all over the place. But anyway, that's a different story. Um, so I don't know what his sort of stamp is going to be, other than that sort of pivot to live service and being really financially minded and being really silent.
Mhm.
Like, hopefully that changes out of anything. If I could choose, like, what would I want different? I want them to open their mouth a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know, if they don't have games, that's fine. I mean, don't, if there's nothing there, that's fine. But like, I don't know, they were just too silent on kind of all fronts when it came to marketing. But
Yeah.
yeah. Any other Jim Ryan thoughts, Logan?
Just the latest Sony exclusive Ratchet and Clank or whatever it was he was saying he was going to play next. I'm just like,
Yeah, your favorite
I was
game.
like, do you actually play video games, Jim Ryan? Do you play video games? It doesn't seem like you do.
Jim Ryan, what's your favorite game ever? Well, the latest adventure of Ratchet and Clank, of course.
I just, man, I don't know, man. I hate to be too mean on Jim Ryan, but I'm right there with you, man. It's kind of just a weird season for PlayStation when Jim Ryan was at the helm. It was hilarious because it gave us some nice memes,
Yeah, crying Jim Ryan.
Crying Jim, crying Jim Ryan was one of them.
It's gamer time, with him holding the controller. This is all Dustin over at Sacred Symbols, really, with a lot of this stuff. But
it gave us some really good Sacred Symbols content. I think that's probably my favorite thing
yeah,
about it.
yeah.
That's kind of sad.
It's hard to really diss him because, like, one thing I did want to point out is, like, the PS5, like, he was there for the launch of the PS5 and it's
That's
doing
true.
great.
That's
It's
true.
outpacing the PlayStation 4, which, who would have thought that in this
Yeah.
supply restricted era that we're in.
Well,
So
just even with inflation and everything too. I mean, it's crazy that they're still selling. I mean,
right. So, he's done some good things for
yeah,
PlayStation. It may not be the most popular things, but we'll see how it
yeah.
all shakes out. We'll see. Real quick, let me ask you this, Logan. Do you have like a favorite of who you would want to be the leader of PlayStation going forward? A couple of names to toss out to be thinking of. I doubt it would ever happen, but Shuhei Yoshida, someone
That
like Herman Hulse, the current head of PlayStation Studios.
mhm.
You may have heard of someone like Scott Rhodey in the background
Mhm.
at PlayStation. He's kind of a
Mhm.
bigger guy. I don't know. Like, do you have any
I
thoughts of who it might be?
honestly, the first person that popped in my head was Shuei. I would love to see him kind of at the helm and see what he would do. I feel like in the culture of PlayStation, Shuhei is like one of the peoples or one of those characters that everybody, at least from my perspective, seems like everybody's kind of loves. Everybody's
Yeah,
charmed by him, and it's understandable. I mean, he's a cool guy. Anytime he came in during a showcase or whatever, I was always kind of like, oh man, it's like Shuhei, it's like Papa Shuhei. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
He's
And so
always
it's
got that big beaming smile.
yeah, and he seems so positive all the time, and I mean, I think he would be. That's who I would pick. I doubt it would happen, but that's who I would pick
That
personally.
is who I would also pick. I don't know
Yeah.
that he has. I won't say the. Never mind. I'm not even gonna say what I was gonna say. I would like for him to be it, but I don't think it will be.
Yeah.
Um, he's a lovely old Japanese man. I love him.
Yeah. He's very cool.
Yeah, he's just like, thinking back to early like Podcast Beyond days when Greg Miller and Colin Moriarty were
Yep.
on it, and how gracious he was to those two
Yep.
nerds and those two jackwagons, to use a term that Nate always uses. Um, like, he was so gracious to those guys, and
Yeah.
really gave them like genuine interviews, and he was always just so great at like events and working. Now he works with indie developers, and indies, like, they can't say enough good things about him. I'm
Yeah.
everywhere I'm seeing, it's just good stuff about Shuhei Yoshida. So yeah, that would be cool. I don't know who it's going to be though. Like, as far as like who would I bet is going to be, I don't
Yeah.
know. I have no
Yeah.
idea. So we'll see. We'll follow this story, but yeah, that's pretty much all we had for the news this week.
Yeah.
So yeah, Logan, we wanted to talk about an old console that we loved.
Yes, we did, man. So let's gather around, dear listeners, and let's talk about the Wonder Swan. No, I'm kidding. Let's talk about let's talk about the Xbox. I wonder how many people in our audience even know what a Wonder Swan is. But it's seriously, those of you that don't know what a Wonder Swan is, go look about the development history behind that thing. It's actually pretty fascinating. But no, man, let's kind of as they say over at Defining Dukes, give the Xbox 360 its roses.
Oh yeah.
This is, and I've said this before, this is one of my favorite game consoles of all time. As I said at the beginning of the show, this is the game console that I got, and I'm like, I'm a man now. I've grown. I've upgraded from Nintendo. They're doing their Nintendo Wii business. I don't want any part of that. I want to, sit on the couch with my standard controller and play some games, man. And dude, what a revelation the Xbox 360 was.
Dude, heck yeah. It was in a time, man, it almost, I remember being caught off guard at the launch of the Xbox 360
Yeah.
because if you remember, it launched 1 year before its competition, the PlayStation
Yep.
3, in 2005 November. And the Xbox, the original one, was successful. A lot of people liked it. Halo was a thing, and but I don't know. It was yet to be seen. Kind of what was this new console going to be like? And I remember specifically sitting at a Mexican restaurant with my friends, a bunch of guys. We were all just hanging out, and we are talking about it. And we are like, why don't we try to get one? Because we were like, what is this thing like? Well, why don't we try to get one? We are talking about Perfect Dark Zero, which was a launch game at the time,
Yeah.
and all this stuff. And so, like, we all like pulled in our money and got one actually. And it was my buddy Ben who he did most of the money, so it was his really. But we all kind of like each pitched in like $20-$30 and like wound up getting one that night just on a whim.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, dude, we're gonna get into the games primarily, but a couple of things I want to talk about are like, when you boot it up and you get logged in and you create an account and it's like, whoa, this thing, you're coming off of like the PlayStation 2, which
Mm-hmm.
like, if you don't put in a disc, I guess there's kind of a menu, but there's no real menu.
Or
And
in my
so,
case, I was coming from the GameCube, so that was a
yeah,
huge upgrade.
right. So like there's like messages and
Yeah.
there's like parties.
Yep.
And like, I cannot emphasize enough how important Xbox Live was, and parties and
Yeah.
this kind of stuff, and the voice chat. Every
Yep.
Xbox 360 came with
Dude.
a headset, which was
Yep.
so crucial. I'm going to say a couple of things. I just thought it's fun to
Man.
remember because I forgot this stuff. It launched at $299 for the Xbox 360 Core, which was like no hard drive.
Oh
You
yeah,
remember that?
I do remember that. Yeah.
And then $399 if you wanted a 20 gigabyte hard drive, which was the little thing that slid on top. You could remove it
Yeah.
really easily.
Oh my gosh, dude, you just unlocked a memory of something. I'll get into it here in a second, but yeah.
Exactly. That's why I wanted to mention some of this stuff because it's just going down memory lane. And so, yeah, you either got the hard drive version or you didn't. Of course, everyone wanted that hard drive.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like things like achievements. It's like, what is this? Like that was just right out of the box. Boom, here's
Yeah.
achievements. And like that became a thing. Obviously, you and I,
It's
of
a
course,
lifestyle. Yeah.
yeah, have latched on to the achievement and trophy
Yeah,
world.
man.
And then I know it wasn't there at launch, but like the Blades interface system, like that was when you
Yes.
think of UIs, and it was the Blades
That was
for
one thing I
sure.
wanted to definitely bring up, so I'm glad you brought that up. Just dude, I don't know what it was. It was I remember when I got my 360, I would swipe through the blades because it made that cool like sound when you went
Yeah.
through them, and I would just like go back and forth between for like a solid 5 minutes because it was just so cool.
Yep, they're all
Love the
colored.
blades.
You get to so you knew the
Yes.
colors associated with like the social stuff, like parties and stuff, versus the games, versus the
Yeah.
store. And
Man.
again, that let's go there real quick. That was the first time you had like an online marketplace where you can go download your little indie games. You can download Peter Jackson's King Kong as well,
Oh,
or
dude.
whatever it was.
Yeah.
Right? I think
Yeah.
you couldn't you download big games. Maybe you
Yeah.
couldn't,
Yeah. I think if not at launch, you definitely could in
but
the coming year.
But then the other thing I wanted to talk about with the whole UI and everything was just like the ecosystem of like demos, and how like there were demos for like
Yeah.
every game, right? For a
Yeah.
little while there.
Mm-hmm.
And like it was a forced thing. So like it opened up so much for the console world. And it had that 1 year head start on the PS3, which, shot themselves in the foot out the gate anyway. and set the stage to really, they didn't outsell at the end of the day PS3, but they really won the generation
Yeah.
for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
And yeah, so let me just stop there. Let me kick kind of just console related stuff, just any sort of memories about just the Xbox 360 in general.
Man, dude, I googled some of the blades just to look at them again, man. Yeah, seeing them again, I'm like, gosh, dude, there's something about a user interface that is so simplistic that makes it just freaking beautiful, man. And just how you mentioned the colors with the different blades, I was like, yeah, wasn't the Xbox Live one yellow? And I'm looking at it now. It was. It was
Yeah.
yellow. The games was green. The media was blue. Gosh, dude, I
It,
love it.
I wish that they would do a modern version of
Yeah.
Blades for Xbox.
Yeah.
I think that would go over really well. Where like
Mhm.
you do a 2023 version of Blades. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
take everything that we learned in the past, what would be 18, 15 years, whatever it's been.
Mhm.
And like that would go over so well,
Yeah. Yeah.
if
I
they
think
did it
so too.
right.
I think so too, man. It again, it just goes to just the beauty of a simple user interface. I know some people are probably like thinking like the blades sucked, and if that's you, then quit listening to the show. We don't want you here. So, but
Get
no,
lost.
but no, for real, dude, it's so cool. But not only that, there was something about this console that made it stand out from everything else before. And it came to mind when you mentioned the hard drive because, of course, as the years went by, as we got further in the life cycle, you get bigger hard drives. You could just pull that out and put the new one in and all that stuff. But not only could you change the hard drive, man, this is something we haven't seen in a while. You could change the face plates of
Yeah.
these X. Dude, I got obsessed with changing the faceplates of these. I was working at GameStop at the time. So we would get to see like the new faceplates and stuff before anybody else, man. And we all collectively lost it at my store when we got the G1 Transformers faceplates in that you could buy the Autobot one and like pop open the clear shell and swap out the different Autobots or Decepticons in there
Uh-huh.
and put it on there. And then the logo over the power button was the Autobot symbol or the Decepticon logo.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then it just had a bevy of like custom limited edition consoles. Like you had your Gears of War ones, you had your Halo ones. Um,
Of course.
Gosh, there were several Halo ones now that I think about it. But man, just like there was something about the Xbox 360 that just had this level of customization to it that got you excited about it because it felt like your 360 was different than everybody else's. The software may be the same, you might have the same games, but as far as the look, might be completely different. And so
Mhm.
it was just a cool system, man, for that reason. And then you get the custom controllers, like I think when Halo Wars came out, they did two custom controllers that were done by Todd McFarlane, and you could get a UNSC one and it was a Master Chief one and a Brute one that you could get, and they were so cool. Of course, I bought both because I was working at GameStop at the time, and I was like, yeah, give me those. And it just
Mhm. Well,
what a
Logan,
system.
there's something else, and while we're really praising the 360 as we should, there's one other blight for the 360 that I think we must discuss, and it's of course the Red Ring of Death.
Nope, nope, nope. Skip. We don't got
Not going to talk about that.
No, we can't. I actually did get that. I remember that. Oof. Did you ever have that happen to you?
Well, yeah, I was about to ask if you did, but yes, what happened for me, I dodged the bullet for the longest time. It did get it. I somehow remedied it, and then it never happened again. And I was like,
Mhm.
"Wow, okay, cool." So like it happened, I fixed it or did something to it.
You put it in it.
Wasn't there like a wrapping a towel solution that some people were
Yeah.
talking
Yeah,
about?
because if I remember correctly, it had something to do with like the was it the soldering or something came loose on it. So if you heat it up, it like reheats up one of the metals in there and then
And then just
connects it,
yeah.
resolders it. Yeah.
I never did that, but I remember I did something to it and it fixed it, and I was like, okay, we're good. We're good. Okay. Okay. So
That
yeah, it's just
works.
I had that one time. Um, but yeah, how about you? I'm assuming you did.
Dude, this was literally either the day after or 2 days after Guitar Hero 2 came out for the 360,
Oh
and that was
no.
dude, what an event that was. It's like finally, PlayStation's over here. They got the cool Guitar Hero 1 and 2, they're so cool. Now we finally have Guitar Hero 2. Cool. 360 can get in the game with this one. And I loved it. I was so excited to play it. Go to work. I come back home from work. My cousins had just come over. They were playing Guitar Hero, checking it out. And my cousin comes up to me. He's like, dude, something's up with your Xbox. I'm like, don't don't you dare tell me. I was like, what did you do? I go in, press the power button, that blinking red light. And I'm like, what did you do? I was livid. I was so
Yeah.
mad. I just got in Guitar Hero 2, man. I barely played a couple songs because it was right in the middle of me working and going to college. And it was just like, bro, you can no longer touch any of my gaming stuff. You are done. This is your fault. It wasn't his fault, but I was still definitely upset. And I had to wait like a couple weeks for it to get repaired and come back. And man, it was definitely scary. But yeah, I only ever had it happen to me once. I've known people that they went through 360s because they got
Oh
red ring so
yeah,
many
I've
times.
heard lots of people go through tons of 360s. Absolutely, but
Man.
that was it. It's kind of crazy that the failure rate could be as high as it was, yet
Yeah.
the console would be so successful.
Yeah.
Imagine that today, like they'd be raked through the coals for
Oh yeah.
something like that.
Oh yeah.
So kind of a unique time before Twitter got too big, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but okay, let's you want to transition into some games, some of
Let's
our
do it,
favorite
man.
games.
Dude, there's so many games to be talking about on this system, man. I already mentioned one earlier with Oblivion. Whew, that was my summer killer right there. I booted that game up and my summer was gone.
Yeah, yeah. One game I'll just start with. We can kind of just volley back and forth,
Yeah,
a game
yeah.
at a time or whatever. The one that sticks out in the memory the most, where it was kind of like earlier in the generation. And I remember I was like a bachelor and I was living with a couple of guys. We had a bunch of friends over and we were watching something. I don't know what it was, but anyway, the demo dropped for BioShock. And we're
Mm,
like, oh, let's
yep,
download this. And
yep,
like, we all like had the lights off and we're playing it. And dude, we're all like, what is this game, dude? We
yep.
were enamored and blown away by, of course, the instant classic that was Ken Levine's BioShock.
Mhm.
So to me, that's one of the first games I think about when I think about the Xbox
Yeah.
360. Was a it kind of ended up being, I guess, a timed exclusive. It did come to other platforms eventually,
Mhm,
but that
mhm,
really helped define the 360 in a lot of ways, as far as being
mhm.
like not just your Call of Duties or your Halos, but this really truly like kind of art game
Yeah,
that has this wonderful story. So yeah, BioShock is one of the first games I remember is like, whoa,
yeah,
what is this? And just being blown away.
yeah. When you talk about, showing people a video game and showing them, what games can truly be. BioShock is one of those games because not only is it mechanically solid, but the art style is really good. It has it employs jump scares and just feeling uneasy when you playing it in such really good ways. And that's the thing about BioShock is that it's scary, but it's scary in ways that you probably wouldn't necessarily expect. Going into Dr. Steinman's wing of Rapture and seeing how he got obsessed with perfection and doing plastic surgery on people and trying to make them perfect and symmetrical. Symmetry, my dear. You know,
Dude,
so unsettling.
everything from the plane crash at the beginning, going into
Yep.
the lighthouse, going down into Rapture, seeing your first Big Daddy, like the
Oh,
environment, like was king. Like there was no
yeah,
game like BioShock when it came
yeah,
out, as far as setting the tone in the environment, and this is what's happening. This is where you're at.
yep,
Buckle up, kind of thing. It was truly, as many of you know, like we've sung the praises, and you guys mostly know about how great BioShock is. But
yeah,
just thinking back to the actual impact, we were all, there was like 5 of us in the room. I remember something like that. There was a lot of us in there, and we were all just like, our mouths were all just on the floor
Yep.
as we were watching my buddy Adam go through the demo for the first time. He was the lucky one that got to play it. We're just like, what?
Yep.
So yeah, that's my first kind of shout out game is BioShock, I guess.
Man. Just that's a really good pick. Really awesome game. One that I tend to revisit every so often because it holds up really well. It's really good, man. I love that you shout out the Big Daddies there. The first time you come across one of those, oh my goodness, it's genuinely terrifying.
Yeah, I have real quick, Logan. I have about 5 physical games that I have back there on that shelf, and BioShock is one of them.
Yeah, man. As it should be.
Yeah.
So when that came out, I actually, because again, working at GameStop at the time, I feel like I worked at GameStop at like the best time to work there during the 360 era. I got the special edition with the statue of the Big Daddy, and man, that statue looked cool. Unfortunately, it broke during a move, so his leg like broke off.
No.
The cage and stuff broke off. I was like, yeah, this
sucks.
is worthless, but very cool statue. That was during a time that special editions came with some really cool things.
Oh yeah.
Versus now it's like digital art book and digital soundtrack. It's like, okay, thanks. Great.
Yeah.
That's real nice. There's so many good games to shout out. I'm looking at a list here. I'm looking at the list that you've got here. There's so many. I want to hit this one. This is a sleeper hit. I don't know how many people are going to really remember this or talk about this one, but this game got me hooked on my 360 during the early months that I had it when, I needed a break from Oblivion. And that's Geometry Wars, man. That game, holy cow, dude. When I first heard about it, I thought it was going to be like literal geometry. I had to do math. I'm like, that sounds boring. But my youth pastor showed it to me. I'm like, dude, this is cool. It shapes you. It's bright, vibrant, kind of reminiscent of who did Returnal? What's that studio called?
Housemarque, but it was it was reminiscent of Super Stardust.
Yeah, kind of like that with just the bright colors, just the cool looks. The twin stick shooter just played really well. Just the sounds too. Even when you died, it had that big explosion that rippled across the whole board. I mean, dude, what a game! And it was one of those things that kind of showed me on the Xbox. Like when I first got, I was like, man, I need to watch out for these Xbox Live Arcade games. These are something, man. Because this and Zuma and I think Hexic was another one that got me hooked.
I think Geometry Wars was a launch game too, or very near launch.
Okay.
If not. So it was like there from day one. And that was one of those like huge word of mouth games.
Yep.
Like totally like people just wouldn't shut up about it. So, cause again, I think it was either like, it was at launch or free or very cheap or something, like very easy to get it.
Yeah.
And so like everyone could try it. And dude, I remember it took me a little while to play it. And then when the first time I did, I'm like, whoa. It was like, okay, another one.
Yep.
I totally got it immediately. That's a fantastic pull. I love Geometry Wars, man.
Yeah, man. It's a good one.
Let's see here. I've got to go to Gears of War.
Yeah,
I've
buddy.
got to go to Gears of War 1, especially. Yep. That's another one of those. I remember where I was when I played it for the first time, kind of moments. Like, again, my buddy Ben, that we were at the Mexican restaurant, and he got the 360. I was over at his house playing that 360, and he got Gears of War, and like. Dude, it was one of those like, dude, graphics will never get better than this moment.
Yeah.
I set it for Turok Dinosaur Hunter on the N64, and I set it for Gears of War on Xbox 360.
Turok, oh my gosh.
But no, for real, dude, I was like, what is this, man? This is so cool. And just the over-the-shoulder stuff was really novel at the time. Not a lot of people were doing it. Uncharted hadn't come out yet, or maybe it was just coming out. So just not a lot of that as far as the saturation that we have today.
Yeah.
And just the mechanic where you like hide behind stuff, getting covered. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of. The cover mechanic. Mm-hmm. The active reload where you just press it just at the right time to get that faster reload and get the extra whatever it was.
Get some extra damage, yeah.
Yeah, and just the so how gory and violent it was. Just like, yes, especially as like early 20s and stuff. I was like, yeah, let's do this. Let's chainsaw through these locusts. Yeah. So Gears of War and that whole vibe, Cliff Bleszinski, the multiplayer around it. The
Yeah.
campaign was so well done. That game was revolutionary, and of course,
Yeah.
Gears 2, Gears 3, also just great
Yeah,
games.
man.
Gears 2 is probably my favorite. I think if
Yeah.
it's been a while since I've played those, might be worth a replay.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, Gears of War. Shout out to those games.
Yeah, man. I remember when that first Gears came out. And then again, I'm going to be mentioning working at GameStop a lot because I just worked at GameStop during one of the best eras of gaming. And a whole group of us, man, we were so stoked, man. When that game came out, we did the midnight launch and we went home and we all got online and we just jumped into the multiplayer and then we did the horde mode. And man, my coworkers played it a lot longer than I did. I think some of them actually competed in some tournaments because they just were super into it. But man, it was just, again, I talk about 360 being a revelation. That's kind of what Gears was too, because outside of Halo at that time, I don't think people had played a game online in the multiplayer and stuff quite as much or have that much hype around a game's multiplayer than Gears. Like it was up there with Halo at the time. It was so massive, man. And
Yeah.
just really, really cool. I really enjoy that game. Gears 1 is actually, I think, Gears 2 is really good, but Gears 1 is my favorite. I think it's just like one of those things where it's like that's where it all started. And
Right.
and just remembering some of the ads, dude, we got to talk about some of the ads for some of these games when they dropped. Like the Mad World ad for the first game where you got Marcus running through the city and he dives into a building and he thinks he's got a moment of relief. And then you see the eyes light up of that.
I remember that ad, Logan. But
Mhm.
was that for Gears 2 or Gears 3 or was it Gears 1?
Oh my gosh, let me look it up real quick. People are going to hear the clicky clacks. Mad.
I'm not trying to call you out. I'm just thinking I feel like that might be a Gears 2 ad, honestly. But either way, I know exactly the ad you're talking about. It is awesome.
It's the first Gears.
Okay, cool. No, that's fine.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
Okay.
Dude, what a cool ad. What a cool ad.
Dude, Microsoft was kind of on fire in that era with ads. You remember those really cool Halo ads? Like
I was just about to go there, man.
like
the
the bubble
Believe
shield.
ad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy crap, dude. The Believe ad. And I get I don't know why I get teary-eyed when I talk about this trailer, but like look, when my wife married me, she married into the Xbox 360 fandom and all the hype and stuff. And so I was showing her all this stuff. And I remember showing her the ad for Believe. And she's like, okay, cool. And I'm sitting there like crying like a baby. I'm like, this is where the boys became men. This is where we learned to finish the fight. I'm like, it's so stupid. I get it. But like that ad, man, the music swelling, the timing of the panorama on the diorama stuff and just sitting the shots. And you just see Chief just sitting there being held up by a brute, and you see the plasma grenade slowly start to glow, and Chief's head lifts up, and it says "Believe," and I'm like, I'm getting goosebumps right now just thinking about it, man. It's so effective with their marketing in that time, man. Their ads were on point. And not only that, this is a good time for us to just talk about Halo 3, man. It matched how awesome the games were, like Halo 3 was.
When it comes to Xbox 360, you're talking in the Halo games, you're talking Halo 3, Halo ODST, and Halo Reach primarily.
Yep.
I loved all three of those games for different reasons, and they're all. I think those three kind of in succession are three of the most different Halo games. I think as far as like in the main line, So because you got. I guess this isn't spoilers or anything. You got Master Chief, one starring Master Chief, one starring like a kind of a squadron of
it's a noble team.
Yeah, noble team, and so like they all have this different. And ODST is this like it's got a completely different vibe from all the other Halo games.
I think you play as a ODST a hell jumper. I think his name's Bucky, voiced by Nathan Fillion. I think.
Yeah, that's correct. I think you're accurate with that. But yeah, the Halo games, and of course their multiplayer took over. You forget what Bungie was doing in the multiplayer realm as far as like matchmaking and stability and how quickly you get into matches and like just all that kind of stuff, man. They were like cutting edge on that stuff back then. Halo 2 really started with Halo 2 and then 3, they like ratcheted up. Some of the best multiplayer at the time, some of the best arena first-person shooter combat. I have many fond memories of playing Halo 3 multiplayer. One of the last multiplayer games, like FPS multiplayer games I played truly probably online.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, just super memorable campaigns. Bungie
Hmm.
went out with a bang with those 3 games for the 360. Yeah,
Hmm.
which is your favorite? 3, Reach,
I
ODST?
so I liked all of them. I thought they were all great. ODST is a little bit lower on the totem pole for me, just because I'm like, you're not playing as chief, you don't get your shields, blah blah blah. I've gone back and played it since it came out, and I've appreciated it more, just
Hmm.
as time has gone by. But I really, really loved Halo Reach.
Oh
I
yeah.
I don't know what it was about Halo Reach, because probably mechanically speaking, pound for pound, Halo 3 might be the better game. But there was something about Halo Reach where, again, it goes back. I'm a big customization guy. It goes to like you're customizing your member of Noble Team, and you're changing out his armor. You're completing challenges and getting new armor pieces. So when you go into the cutscenes, you're not just seeing like Master Chief, right? You're seeing your Spartan that you've crafted and you've spent time with, and there's that connection there. And then you get into the multiplayer and you're unlocking more stuff for your Spartan. Then you get into firefight where you're going into an arena with some of your buddies and destroying waves upon waves of Covenant warriors. And then you had the Forge. I mean, you had I think you had the assassination moves in Halo 3 too, but they were definitely a little more complex, or stylistic in Reach. But yeah, man, I've played through Halo Reach probably 20 times. It feels like I really love Halo Reach, and I mean, my wife will tell you, me and her played it. That was actually one of the first games we played together when we started dating,
Oh, awesome.
and then I told her once she got better than me, I'm like, we can't play this anymore. Like, stop it, So, but yeah, man, Halo Reach. That might be another reason why I like it so much, is because my wife went with me to the midnight release. We were just dating at the time, and we had picked it up, and we had played it together. So it kind of holds a special place in my heart because of that. But yeah, man, Reach was just
Very cool.
very, very cool. I actually have it on my 360, not 360, my Xbox still. Maybe I need
Yeah,
to
and
get
and
back
I
into it.
I said it. I think I was on the podcast when Layla and I were going through the Master Chief collection and
Yeah,
playing
I
through
remember
all
that.
the
Yeah.
Bungie games. Yeah, so like we had recently, like just last year, played through 3 and ODST and Reach.
Hmm.
And yeah,
Hmm.
Reach is like all the systems and everything that Bungie had learned just culminating into that game.
Yeah.
I think it may be the best game, perhaps. I'm not
Hmm.
sure. It's really, really hard.
Yeah.
Anyway, one game I wanted to call out to, I didn't want to forget it. This isn't like the best 360 game ever, but and I mentioned this probably on the podcast before. I used to manage and run like a movie theater
Hmm.
where I lived, and I was there when we were transitioning from like film projectors into digital projectors. So
Hmm.
with the advent of digital projectors came the ability for us to hook up video game consoles to them and play
Oh,
them
nice.
after hours. And so of course we did that. And the first game I remember we played was Dead Rising on the Xbox 360.
Oh, great pick. Great
Cap
pick.
the Capcom zombie game where you're stuck in a mall and it's time based and you got
Yes.
these psychopaths and there's just like loads and loads of zombies that you have to cut through with your katana or your baseball bat or
Yes. Your Mega Man
your
blaster.
weed eater or whatever you get your hands on. And dude, it was so good. Like it was everything we dreamed of, like with the surround sound and like zombies feeling like they're like behind you and all this kind of stuff. It was like a blast playing Dead Rising on this huge movie theater screen. And just in general, shout out to Dead Rising. That game
Yeah,
is
man.
awesome. Dead Rising
It
1
is.
specifically.
Yeah.
Um some great achievements. That was the game where like I got hooked on achievements. I remember. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, dude, what are these? Let's go."
I did too, especially since like I know some people don't like having timers in their games, and I get why. But man, there's something about that game being on a timer where like you would only get to fight certain bosses during certain times, and then only if you did
Yeah.
certain things. So like it encouraged you to replay the game a lot, and I definitely did when I got
Yeah.
it. And man, I still didn't see everything that game had in it, but it was really cool. I remember that game also because that game came out around the time that HD TVs were starting to become a thing.
Yep.
And I remember the text being super tiny on it if you weren't playing on an HD TV. And that was a huge thing. They had to patch something in. Oh my gosh, dude, patches started to become a thing during this
Yeah,
era.
yeah, yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, no, Dead Rising was awesome. Dead Rising was really, really cool. I like that game
Super
a lot.
duper good.
I've got to shout this one out. It's staring at me right here, and I'm just like, you know what? I put a lot of time into this game, and that's Red Dead Redemption,
Mm-hmm.
dude. I don't know if I know this came to PS3 eventually. I don't know if it was a 360 game at first for a while or what. I just remember playing it a lot on the 360, and just what a game, dude. What a
Oh
game.
yeah,
This was,
dude.
again, we talk about games that you play them and they show you what games can be. And Red Dead Redemption was another one of those. I do not like Westerns, but I played the crap out of Red Dead Redemption. I was like, this is just a really cool game from stem to stern.
Quick spoiler for Red Dead Redemption 1. If you've not played it, 3, 2, 1. When you first go to Mexico
Yes.
and that Jose Gonzalez song comes on, I think it's called Far Away or something like, or So Far Away or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. Dude, like again, put yourself back in the time. You're talking about
Yeah.
BioShock earlier. Put yourself back in the time. Nobody was doing this.
Yeah.
Nobody just had a song. Just
Yeah.
like a random like contemporary artist song just dropped in the middle of their 40-hour AAA action game.
Yeah.
That just wasn't other than like maybe we just talked about it, maybe Halo with like Incubus and stuff like that. But
Sure.
like not like this. Dude, chills up your
Mm-hmm.
up your whole body when that happens. Dude,
Mm-hmm.
the song is so good. Shout out to Jose Gonzalez. And that is just a special game
Yeah.
with a fantastic ending. Just a great dude. Both Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2 are like 10
Mm-hmm.
out of 10s easy.
Yeah.
Love those games,
Man, dude, they were so
man.
good.
Sorry, I took over your thought there with
No,
Red
it's fine,
Dead.
man. It was really good. And like, yeah, you even mentioned there with the ending. I did not see that coming, but it's one of those things where like good storytelling does that. It takes you places you don't think you're going to go, and then it just leaves an imprint on you, and it's really good. And then not only that, the DLC, the zombie DLC, I think it was like what, American Nightmare or something like that.
Yeah,
Dude, even that was
Undead Nightmare.
Undead Nightmare. Thank you. Yeah, even that was remarkably good. And it's like this was even an era where DLC and extra content like that was becoming a new thing, and developers were trying to figure out, how do we do this right? And that was one of those things where I just think Rockstar nailed it, man. That was just, it was
Mm-hmm.
a really cool DLC pack, and it was just a lot of fun. It was completely bonkers, but it was really good, man. And it just,
Yeah.
what a game.
Just a quick thought. I'm not going to sit here, but thinking of DLC, Minerva's Den for Bioshock 2.
Mm,
Remember that
yep.
being killer.
Yep.
Anyway, sorry, that just was a random thought thinking about Bioshock and DLC.
No, man, that's good.
Game, another one I want to shout out is the Orange Box, and particularly Portal.
Oh, dude, yeah.
I know that this was like, on PC and stuff as well, and huge on PC, but this was my first introduction to. Actually, you know what? Portal was my first Valve game I ever played. Yeah, it
I think it
was.
was mine too. Yeah.
And that was my introduction to Valve. And I hold Portal. I haven't played it in a while. I need to go back. I want to play it with my kids, and I wouldn't mind Emily
Mhm.
playing it. I don't know if she will. That's like it's almost in a category of its own to me.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's a 10 out of 10 game. It's so special and it's so smart. And I don't know many games that have done anything as groundbreaking as what Portal did at the time
Yeah.
since then.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some things I'm not thinking of, but Portal is an extra seminal game that if you're sleeping on or never played for whatever reason, do yourself a favor and play the 5, 6, 7 hours to finish Portal.
Yeah.
So fantastic. I don't want to
Oh,
say
yeah.
much about it. Just play it and enjoy it. It's that was a seminal game for me
Yeah.
playing it as I was like, wow.
I remember being really impressed by Portal when I played it, and it just being like, I'm like, man, this is, again, we talk about like what games can be, and it's like this game got you. I think one of the mottos for the game was like thinking in portals or think in portals or something like that. And it just, I mean, it's even kind of become a meme now. Like you'll see, not like a meme, but like kind of like a cult classic sort of thing. Like I remember every year it feels like I see these images of people doing their Christmas tree where like one part of it will be going through a portal and then the other part of it will be coming out through the ceiling through another portal. And it's just like,
Yeah.
dude, that is so cool. But it just became a huge thing. And it's funny because I remember when the Orange Box was coming out and a lot of people were like, oh, dude, Half-Life 2. Oh my gosh. And people were getting excited about that. But no, I think the heavy hitters in that really surprised people were Team Fortress 2, or maybe it was just Team Fortress, but regardless, it was that one. And Portal just really
Right.
surprised a lot of people. They're like, "Oh my gosh, these are really amazing games."
Portal was like the extra thing, the
Yeah,
bonus that you didn't really think
that's
about when
right.
it was like launched. It was like, oh
Yeah,
yeah, Half-Life and yeah, Team Fortress, and then
yeah,
like, oh yeah, what's Portal? Okay, whatever.
yeah.
You know, and that was
And
like
then
what became the thing sort of
yeah,
the orange box.
and it just took off from there, man. The cake is a lie. It's crazy, you know? So, good time. Good time. Did that bring it back to me then?
I think so. Yeah, it's your turn.
Dude, okay, I gotta shout this game out. This is one of the coolest games I've ever played in my life. And I don't and I kinda am sad to see it kind of fall from grace in the way that it has, because when it first launched, it was definitely a juggernaut type game on the 360. And that's Crackdown, man, where you get your
Oh,
superpowers. You're part of like a police type unit, and you're taking down the bad guys. You got these like orbs that you're chasing around the city, and you're like get these crazy powers. It has this cool like comic book art style to it with the narrator dude, where it's like agent. It's like
yeah.
what a cool game, man. Crackdown 1 was. I didn't get to play Crackdown 2, and I didn't get to play Crackdown 3 with Terry Crews. I kind of wish I would have played that, to be honest. But man, the first Crackdown was amazing. And then the vehicles that you could upgrade too. Like I spent so much time in that game. I think my youth pastor actually played through the game so much and got every single orb in the game, if I remember correctly. He'll have to write in or text me or something to let me know. But I'm pretty sure he got all, if not most, of the orbs in that game.
Wow. Yeah.
Really good game. Really good game. Shout out to
Yeah,
Crackdown.
I've never played the Crackdown games, but that's a
Oh,
great
dude.
pull. I'm glad that you pulled that out because that is an Xbox exclusive that
Yeah.
is very much in the
So good.
vein.
So good.
I think the one I'm gonna say next is Left for Dead.
Yeah.
Man, talk about I was saying Halo 3 was maybe the last multiplayer game. Left for Dead was maybe the last multiplayer game I really played. Dude, getting three friends on chat to play Left
Yeah.
4 Dead, there was nothing better. The coordination, how you're going to take down these hordes of zombies, how you're going to take out what was the
Was
like
it
the
a
screaming little
Shrieker or something
shriekers or
like
whatever. I
that?
forget the names of them, but
We'll look
all
it
the
up.
different types of zombies, man. There was like the big tank ones. There was the little small shrieker witches or whatever me and Logan are trying to think of. Dude, Left 4 Dead was a riot. Like true fear, when you get in a pickle, and like, you're just backed in with maybe one of your, three buddies or something like that.
Hmm.
But dude, Left 4 Dead, super, super good game.
Yeah, man. You mentioned one of them, the witch there, and like it's funny these like the big zombies had very simplistic names. You got your boomer, which that's the one I remember.
Yeah.
Your hunter, your smoker, your tank, charger, jockey, spitter. And then yeah, the witch was the big
Yeah.
one. Oh, the screamer, there it is, that one right there. Yeah, that thing was
Okay.
definitely gnarly. Here's the thing, man. Left 4 Dead was one of those games where I played 2 matches. I was like, this is really cool. And then I never bought it. I don't know why. I wish I would
Mm,
have, because again, like you said, this was one of those games up there with Halo, Gears of War. Everybody was playing Left 4 Dead. Such a huge game. And they've been trying to recapture that spark in
they
several entries,
haven't.
man. They just haven't been able to do it, man. There was
I would
something
even
truly
argue
special.
even Left 4 Dead 2 didn't
Yeah.
capture what Left 4 Dead 1 captured. That
Yeah.
zeitgeist was only that one game, I would say.
Yeah.
And really truly, like, don't even play it by yourself. Like, that is, get you
No.
three friends and
Yeah.
play Left 4 Dead. That's how you play those games.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah, that's my
Absolutely.
pick there.
Yeah, I will say what little bit I did get to play of Left 4 Dead, I liked it immensely more than Call of Duty Zombies, because that was a big thing, at least in my friend group, going into seminary, and we were all playing on the 360. I just remember Left 4 Dead being better and more fun and just more chaotic. And
Yeah,
but yeah, man, just
definitely.
really great pick, really really great pick. Um, of course, I've got to shout this one out. I'm not I'm probably, I'm the resident car guy here. I do like to play my cars. Well, actually, no, Micah, you play Gran Turismo, so
Oh yeah, I'm a racing game guy for
well,
sure.
yeah. But I got to shout this out, dude. Forza got its introduction on the 360.
Yeah, it
I'm
did.
not much of the simulation dude. The motorsports, the motorsport one. I don't know why I say it with an accent. I wasn't much of that one, but Horizon, specifically Horizon 2.
Yeah.
Oh man, that came onto the scene, and it's like, sorry, Need for Speed, I have a new favorite racing game, and it ain't you anymore, man. Forza Horizon 2 is a game that I feel like Forza Horizon has been trying to recapture that energy in their recent entries. And they've done really good, respectable entries since then. The most recent one being actually the one I think comes the closest. But Forza Horizon 2, man, is just an amazing car game.
Yeah.
Arcade racer kind of thing. But just the breadth of the content that's there, the support it got through the DLC stuff, even the collaboration with Fast and the Furious, was really well timed. Just awesome. Awesome game, man. Building out the Horizon events, doing the different challenges, unlocking the insane amount of cars that are in the game. What a game. What a game.
Dude, I'm just kind of going through this list that I have here in front of me, and like what I'm blown. I've got a game. I've got sort of one last game. I guess I'll shout out. But one thing I'm noticing is that, dude, there's just so many multiplayer games, like the Batman Arkham series,
Mm-hmm.
L.A. Noire, just so many, just Resident Evil 5. So many multiplayer games that are like, yeah, that was 360. Or, the Walking Dead Telltale series, that sort of stuff. That was all that era. So, but when I think of like 360 though, going back to Xbox Live Arcade, there's really smart games, puzzle games like Braid, but man, the one that I love that I still play to this day, the kids here at the house still play it, Castle Crashers, man.
Yeah.
Dude, loved me some Castle
Yeah.
Crashers. Like the first time playing it, I mean, we were just, of course, immature little, like idiots, but like, we were just laughing our heads off at like, the deers
Yeah.
like sending you along on their turds or whatever. And just, it was also, Castle Crashers is like one of the best like 2D like beat 'em ups that exists.
Yeah.
It's such a good game. But yeah, shout out to, again, Xbox Live Arcade and Castle
Yeah.
Crashers.
Yeah. I want to even piggyback on that and do a shout out to the summers of arcade, man. That time in the summer where like
Oh
I think
yeah.
for a solid month every week you got a new indie title, man. It was always an exciting time to just see like
Mm-hmm.
what we got. Braid was one of my favorites. I love Braid. Really cool indie game where you manipulate time to complete puzzles. Just really really stinking cool. That's where we got
Super smart game.
very smart game. And I like that you got some of them listed here. I mean, you got things like Shadow Complex, Limbo, Castle Crashers was a huge one. Super Meat Boy was another one that
Yeah.
I personally like. Super difficult game, but really, really good. Fez was another one that came out around that time too. That was really good. There's
I also remember Splosion Man was really good around that time. If you played
yes,
that, that was a good
yes,
one.
yes.
There was, I'm trying to think of arcade games specifically.
I think didn't TMNT Out of the Shadows? It's not a good game, but wasn't that one of the Summer of
I
Arcade
think so.
things?
And just some of the TMNT throwback games in general hit
Yeah,
it, I think. Or
yeah,
there was maybe like a Turtles in Time remake or something
yeah,
like
yep,
that
yep.
that
That
hit
was one of them.
Xbox Live Summer of Arcade.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm thumbing through, try to just see some
Man,
other ones real quick. Like Peggle and Plants vs Zombies from
what is it?
PopCap.
PopCap, dude. Peggle. Oh my gosh, I
The
put some time into Peggle, dude.
Oh yeah, Peggle was like a way of life in the Hendrick house for a little while.
Oh,
Like it was the game where like we would have people, like when me and Emily first got married, we'd have company all the time, and like
yeah,
we were always getting people to play Peggle, and everyone was like, "Dude, can we play some Peggle?" It was a we
absolutely,
crushed Peggle.
dude. Man, gosh, dude, that
Oh, how about
Xbox
you? I'm
thing.
surprised you haven't mentioned Lost Odyssey.
I knew I was forgetting something. I was like, wait, what am I forgetting here? There's stuff
Blue
I'm
Dragon,
forgetting.
Lost Odyssey. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
on
let
here.
me talk a little bit about those for a second because Lost Odyssey and Blue Dragon were games that I picked up and played on the 360 and never finished. But I always thought it was cool to get when I got them. I was like, oh, this is on more than one disc. This is a big game. This is gonna be great. And the Blue Dragon had its issues with the frame rate and it stuttered a little bit, but there was a charm to it, man. I was like, this is really cool. And it was during a time I was kind of getting into anime too. So I was like, dude, this is perfect for me. Never finished it. I'm gonna change that in the next year. I got to get Trails out of the way first. But I finished Lost Odyssey and I'm like, man, this game, I don't think it holds up as well in 2023, but it's still a really good game. And shout out to the person who commented on my video for it recently that said they quit their job to play this game.
Oh
I
my.
was like, all right, pop off, you do you.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it was just, I think at the time, what those games meant was just so huge because we were, again, we were looking at PlayStation and we're like, man, they've got these great JRPGs. They're getting the Final Fantasy games. Where are those games for us?
Yeah.
And I feel like Xbox for the longest time, at least until here recently, has always struggled with getting those kinds of games on their platform. And now I say until recently because that's changed drastically with the Persona games coming to Xbox, some of the Final Fantasy games coming to Xbox. So it's really cool. Shout out to Phil Spencer for really putting forth the effort to bring those games to Xbox. I think that is much needed. Even the Yakuza games here are turn-based JRPGs to a certain degree. But those games, when we finally got those, especially Lost Odyssey, I remember me and some friends talking about it. You're like, dude, this is made by the same people who worked on Final Fantasy. This game is going to be awesome. Are you kidding me? We're finally going to get our own Final Fantasy on Xbox. Let's go. And then we get it, man, and didn't do quite as well as we thought it would. But it didn't really matter because we were like, this game is so dope at the time. Like we were really impressed by it. And plus the graphics and the music, man, out of this world. And even if you still go play it now, still graphics maybe not so much, but the music 100%. Amazing.
Yeah, I remember it was a big deal in this era too. Xbox did wind up getting Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 13 did come to Xbox that generation. I remember that was like a huge deal.
Worth? Yeah, for whatever that's worth. Granted, there's some people who like 13, so I'm not going to knock them. But
yeah, but for the time, that was. I remember that was. I remember Don Matrick announced it, and he's like, "Please welcome so and so from Square Enix," and yeah, that was it happened, and.
And you know what? I remember Final Fantasy 13 was my first Final Fantasy game. Now that I think about it, and
are you for real?
Yeah, and I did enjoy it. I played it up until it opens up into the open world, which I think is like 30 or 40 hours into the game.
Yeah, you're like almost done with it by then.
Yeah, and then I never played it again.
That's really when it quote gets good. But no, that game has an outstanding battle system. Everything else I could do away with. Yeah. But yeah,
I'll be honest. The reason I played it so long is because, again, I was a teenager. Okay, so y'all don't hold this against me.
No, that's fine.
I thought Lightning was cute, so
of course
I was like, you know what?
The Easy Allies, they love Lightning. Easy Allies over there on YouTube.
Lightning, she's a cutie. And then who was that one character that had the beanie and the trench coat? I think Troy Baker voiced him. I don't remember what his name was.
It was something like ice cold related, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that. Because he punched stuff all the time, and I think because his summon was Shiva, and she was a motorcycle.
Yeah, what was his name?
I can't remember his name. Micah's gonna look it up.
I don't know if I will.
But anyway, yeah, dude, cool time to get those games, and it just meant a lot, and it was kind of cool. It was really cool. I'm trying to remember if there was any other Final Fantasy games that we got on the 360 apart from the sequels to 13, but
Snow. His name was Snow.
Of course, it's Snow. You have lightning, and then you have snow.
Yep.
But yeah, man, just a cool game, and it's funny because when you look at 13, it was trying to do a lot of what Final Fantasy 7 did, but it just didn't quite get there.
As far as like kind of the look and feel.
And the feel. Yeah, Lightning was very much a Cloud clone. Very much. But yeah, anyway. I feel like I need to replay 13 again. Give it another shot and see what I think of it. But
yeah.
We'll save that for later. But Micah, man, is the other games there's one we definitely got to mention. People are gonna be mad if we don't bring this one up.
I think I know which one you're saying, so go ahead and say it, Logan.
Dude, Mass Effect.
Yes.
Holy
Yeah.
guacamole, dude!
If
What a
we went through a
game,
whole 360 conversation and didn't bring up Mass Effect, people would
yeah,
be ill.
dude. That game, we're looking at Starfield, and we were hoping that Starfield would just blow the doors off everything. And I feel like that's what Mass Effect did when it launched. So cinematic, had some like high quality, high bar voice actors in it, voicing different characters. And man, the gameplay, the choices you make. Wow, dude. This is
I'm
BioWare at their best.
I was just getting sad thinking about this because the Mass Effect trilogy is, in my opinion, the last time we got good BioWare,
Yep.
straight up. And like,
Yep.
it's arguably not even the best BioWare. I haven't played all their games. I never played KOTOR for example, so I know that's a sin.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, and actually, I've only played really Mass Effect 2. I've like beaten that one all the way through. I've played some of 1, and I never played any of 3.
Oh, wow.
So I've got some holes in my
Okay.
Mass Effect, but I just know how well loved it is. I know how good it is based off of
Yeah.
1 and 2.
Yeah.
And yeah, just a seminal trilogy that I think people would die to get a trilogy like this today that is this
Oh, yeah.
quality and like comes
Oh,
out
yeah.
in that short like time span. Again, this goes back to how long video games are made now. They basically could get
Hmm.
the Mass Effect games out every 2 or 3 years, and then boom,
Yeah.
you got a trilogy here in one generation.
Yeah.
Like that would never happen today.
No.
But man, I know there's a new Mass Effect game in the hopper right now
They're working on it.
that
But
maybe we'll save the IP. But boy, that was some seminal work there that they did with that
mhm.
trilogy. And
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
if video games could get something like that again, I don't know what else would compare to something like that
Yeah.
that exists really. It's so good, and yeah,
Yeah,
I
man.
miss old BioWare.
Yeah, I do too. I gotta know, man. Your first time doing the suicide mission at the end of two, how many people did everybody survive, or were there some people that you lost?
It's been so long. I felt like I lost like 2 or so,
Okay.
like not many, but a couple kind of
Yeah.
thing. I don't
Yeah.
really recall. But man, what a great game! I
Dude.
have a hard time like remembering like very specific details of games from like
Hmm.
yesteryear like that, especially big long
Hmm.
games. Like for example, go tell me like what's some of the things that happened in God of War 1, like God of War 2018. I'm like Kratos touched this light and he got
Hmm.
crazy, and
Hmm.
it's like all the details. It's like I can't quite remember everything,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah. So I wouldn't be able to tell you like who died and who lived in that run. I don't recall.
Dude, man. It's funny you mentioned God of War. It's like, man, if someone asked me, like, what do you remember of the PlayStation 1 God of War games? I was like, I don't know, Kratos yelling Calliope, and
Of
spinning
course.
his blades around, and that's really all I remember. But no, dude, Mass Effect, specifically 1 and 2, were games I replayed a ton. So it's probably embarrassing the amount of stuff that I remember from those games, and like the characters' names and the different endings that you could have with them. But man, I remember when someone told me, like, yeah, man, no, I was looking through the achievements, and I saw the achievement that says everyone survives the suicide mission. I'm like, crap, what is this? So I like followed a
Oh
guide
man.
to a
Yeah.
T, because I was like, I'm not letting anyone die, man. I'm getting everybody to the end. And
Yeah.
man, and it worked out. Dude,
Shout
shout
out
out
to
to
Mord Solus.
dude.
Such a
I
good
am
character.
the very model of a, what was it? I'm the very model of a something Solarian scientist or something. I don't know. Dude, shout out to him, man. My one of my favorite characters from 2 was Thane, the assassin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
super cool character. His arc with his son is really good in 3, but
I don't know who makes it, but I've seen it exist. This really great, high quality Morden Solus statue. I want. It's probably like
mm,
$200. I'm never gonna
yeah,
get it, but it's
yeah,
like, oh, I want that so
yeah.
bad.
So good, man. So good, man. Well, man, I mean, I'm looking at the time here. We definitely got to
Yeah.
shut it off at some point. So I know there's some games that we miss. Okay, don't go raging in the comments. Just go in the comments. Let us know some of your favorite games from the 360 era, and let's talk about those. Even maybe some of your favorite hardware too, because I know there was some crazy hardware that came out around that time. Shout out to the
Or
Connect.
what console would you like us to maybe do another one of these kind of episodes
There
on?
we go. Yeah, that's another one. So yeah, let us know down in the comments. But before we end this show, let's get into some of our write-ins. Here we got 2 write-ins sent in from our Patreon supporters. The first one coming in from John Hannon. He says, I really like the idea of playing through a game book club style, and I'm looking forward to this. October lends itself to more spooky games pretty naturally. Are there any other months in games or genres that seem to fit thematically to you? And man, I was thinking about this, and I got to say, there is something. I think when it comes to the winter is when I play catch up. So there's no like specific genres. I'm just like, okay, let me go back and play the games that I missed throughout the year. That's what my winter's all about. But my
Mm-hmm.
summers, I think my summers are going to be all about JRPGs, man. There's something about playing JRPGs over the summer. It's like you got enough time to do it. You can breeze through them pretty quickly. It's just a good time to play through them. And so I think for me, summer definitely is a JRPG season for me, and the winter is just catch up season. But what
Yeah,
about
I
you,
don't
Micah?
I don't have a good answer for this, John. I was thinking just kind of generally, or very specifically, I should say, because I just got done with it. A good Christmas game would be Spider-Man Miles Morales. That game is
Mm,
set during
yeah,
Christmas. They have like a Christmas dinner
yeah,
and in one scene, and it's just always snowing all the time, and there's
that's a
always
good pick.
Christmas decorations up everywhere. And while it's kind of like, Die Hard is a Christmas movie, it's like it's not really a Christmas movie, but it's very much set around Christmas and a lot of Christmas stuff going on.
Mhm.
It's kind of like that. So that's sort of where my brain went. I don't have any other good. I hmm, I do like what you said about RPGs in summer. I like that as well.
Mhm.
But I don't really have any, like, I was thinking more like specific games
Oh,
and
okay.
times of year, but not like genres. I don't really have anything like that.
Oh, dude,
Um,
you know what's a good Christmas game apart from Spider-Man? It's in the same vein as superheroes. Batman Arkham Origins. That literally takes place on Christmas.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Great
Lots
game.
of things like that, I would imagine. Something like you could say like, flower for spring, or
Mm.
something dumb like that. But I mean, I can't
Yeah,
think of like genres or whatever that like I like to play during, spring or summer or whatever. I can't really think of anything like that particularly, John.
man. Dude, I feel like it changes too. Like, we just talked about the 360 era. Like summer was for me at that time, like the time to play indie games because Summer Arcade was right around the corner. Those started
That was
coming
true
out,
for a while. That was true
Yeah.
because there was an era of gaming that is kind of easy to forget nowadays because we're so inundated with year-round
Yeah.
hits. But like
Yeah.
summer was the doldrums, like
Yeah.
May, June, July.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't
Yeah.
have nothing. So that's
Yeah.
kind of that was one reason why Summer of Arcade became a thing because like, hey,
Yeah.
we're in this is a good time for indies to come out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, man, that was a good time. It's a good time. But yeah, now we just get them year round and
Now you
you
have
know,
Tears of the Kingdom in May.
yeah, it's just gosh, dude, gaming has changed so much since the 360 era. It's crazy to think about. Oh my gosh.
It is weird because yeah, that is a foreign thought or almost a just to think like we used to have dead times in the calendar year.
Yeah. Yeah. Not this
Lol.
year. Not this year. Rip free time, not gonna happen.
For
Oh
real.
man. But John, thank you for writing in. Let's land the plane here with Dorian Taylor. So it's October. Nothing scarier than knowing that Black Friday is coming up soon and that my wallet will potentially cry for mercy for all of the deals I'm sure there will be, as well as the upcoming releases. 2023 has indeed been a heck of a year for games. The other thing that's scary is the rising of games as a service. Gaming budgets are increasing to an astronomical number, and companies seem to want/need to go the games as a service route to fund the big budget games that take forever to make. Do you think there will be an oversaturation of games as a service games while we wait years for the big single player experiences, or are we entering the rise of even a golden age of no, the rise or even a golden age of double A and indie games? Micah, I'm going to kick it off to you, man.
Yeah, this is a great question that kind of digs into a little bit of what we were talking about earlier with Jim Ryan and stuff. Um, yeah, I think he's sort of right on both fronts, Dorian. Are we about to get inundated with games? Yeah, I mean we already are. I think you can only play one Destiny.
Mm-hmm.
Like in my case, I guess I could play other games, but it's like I play Rocket League. That's my
Yeah.
games as a service game. For you, it's a lot of Marvel Snap.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
like who's playing 4 games as a service games? You can't do it because those games
Yeah.
require you, not require you, but you're highly motivated to stick with it week in and week out.
They're a big time investment. I mean, Apex is a
So
big one. Fortnite's another. I mean, there's a lot of them out right now if you look.
right. So when you look at all the Apexes and the Fortnites and the PUBGs and the like the all the ones that failed, like Cliffy B's game, I can't even say his last name. Like what was it called?
Oh
I'm
gosh.
blanking. Anyway, there's tons of them, which is
Yeah.
why I said earlier about like they only need 1 out of the 10 to hit, and then it's worth it. Like
Mm-hmm.
that. So yeah, we're gonna get inundated with the 10, and they might like 9 of them might be crap, or all 10 of them might be crap.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think we're going to get inundated with that sort of stuff. And talking about the financials of it, I mean, yeah, it's either the AAA Last of Us style games need to get shorter or smaller in scope,
Mm-hmm.
or companies need games like this to supplant it.
Yeah.
Which is why that's what they're doing. Which is why, like, even like currently today, like Forza Motorsport just came out for Xbox,
Oh
and
yeah.
like one of the things it's being panned for is that it's vanilla, so that it can support this long tail that the game needs to have and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that's kind of where games are and stuff right
Yeah.
now. And going back to Dorian's question, he said, like, are we seeing the golden age of AA and indies? Like, yes, I think that is also true.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're getting tons of games and services. Like, there's too many games to play. When you look
Yeah.
at the AA and indie space, you got things like, Kena Bridge of Spirits, I say would be a AA game. That's an indie game,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a AA game. You
Mm-hmm.
got games like, I mean, heck, there's so many. I can't even
I
mention.
want to say
There's
Sea of Stars
tons.
was one you were just talking about earlier.
Yes,
Reg is another one that we've been singing the praise of. It just announced some DLC today, and it's like,
right.
dang, dude. Dead
Yeah.
Cells is a big indie game that's still going, still has a
Had the
long tail.
Castlevania stuff that just came out for
Yeah,
Dead Cells. Dude, like, yes,
yeah.
double A, indie, games as a service, all that stuff is blowing up. And I think even in the AAA space, we have enough publishers, companies, developers, really, to where like you're hitting these beats like every so often, where you got like this year, you got your Hogwarts Legacy, then you got your Jedi Survivor, then you got your
Yeah.
Zelda, then you got your Starfield, then you got your Spider-Man. I mean, the
Gosh.
blockbusters are just lined up, you know? And that's just the AAA games.
Oh, what a crazy year.
And I left off 6, 7, 8, 9 more.
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know? So like
And that's just the first half of 2023.
yeah,
You know?
so circling back, Dorian, to kind of the point of your question, like the economic, like, I mean, yeah, dude, like it's just games. Like there's more people playing more games than ever, and the industry's bigger than ever. So you're gonna get your games as a service. You're gonna get your ones that succeed, and your ones that fail. You're gonna get your triple A's. You're gonna get your double A's. You're gonna get your indies. And there's like we've been saying, we're beating the door. It's like a buffet for
Yeah.
gamers.
Yeah.
Like, where do you even start? I was talking to Nate McKeever, friend of the show, on the phone the other day. I was catching up with him a little bit, and I was talking about Sea of Stars, and I was like, dude, that came out in like late August, and I haven't touched anything else. And here we are in October.
Hmm.
Like that's like I just had to pick my lane, and I
Yeah.
picked Sea of Stars.
Yeah.
I'm saying no to Starfield, saying no to Diablo, saying no to this or that. And it's like, yeah, man, you just got to pick.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good that's being a good Christian there, saying no to Diablo there, Micah.
There you
Always,
go.
resist it. Yeah, I don't have anything to add to this. I was gonna kick this to Mike and just let him take off with it. And I think you nailed it perfectly. You hit everything. That's just so true about what's going on right now, man. We're gonna definitely see more of these. Plus, I mean, shoot, dude, you've got Roblox and Honkai Star Rail coming to PlayStation here pretty soon.
Yeah.
And I will say, I did pre-order Honkai Star Rail. I'm going to see
All
what it's
right.
about. I'm going to check it out
Okay.
and hope I don't get hooked. Chances are
I'm
I
very
will, though.
curious to hear your thoughts on that.
We'll see. But man, there's plenty of them. Marvel Snap, again, it's a big one. But yeah, it's there. But man, I don't have anything to add. Micah hit it really, really well. So yeah. That being said, dear listeners, that brings our show to a close. As always, if you want to write in or discuss some of the things that we talked about on the show, leave us a comment on YouTube or hit us up in the Discord. But before we let you go, some Reco, some things that you got to check out. Micah, what should our dear listeners check out?
Man, you know how you watch YouTube and then you go down rabbit holes
Yeah,
and then like it just you're in the algorithm and
that's
like
that's a
it's
usual
over.
that's a usual Friday night for me and the wife.
So YouTube found out that I love the Sea of Stars soundtrack, like I was
Okay,
just talking about earlier, and it fed me this channel that you may have heard of called Lame Genie.
Lame
Lame
Genie.
Genie, and it's like they do metal covers of video game songs. And
Okay.
so I found a couple of Sea of Stars songs on there. A track it's like a boss battle track called Encounter, and there's one for Mountain Trail that are just like freaking sick. And I started perusing the channel. They have stuff for Shadow of the Colossus and Final Fantasy and Zelda and Mega Man and Street Fighter and all sorts of stuff. And it's all pretty rad. So yeah, the
Wow.
channel on YouTube is called Lame Genie, like Game Genie, but lame. And yeah, it's if you like metal and video game music, these guys are doing some pretty good work. So yeah.
I'm looking through it right now, man. Metroid Prime menu select theme, some Pokemon, Batman, and man, this one's gonna slap. AOL dial-up theme goes harder, bro.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Oh no, I was looking through there and saw all the Mega Man stuff. I'm like, dude, heck yeah! The Legend of Zelda, dude, yeah, this is pretty. I'm really loving their thumbnails. They're so just like insane, but man, yeah, I'm going to check these out. This looks really really cool. Looks
Yeah, it's
really
good
really
stuff.
fun. That's awesome, man. That's a good reco. My reco is one I didn't think I'd be recommending because when I saw the trailer for Gran Turismo, I'm like, this movie's gonna suck. It can't be that good. And then I watched it and was like, huh. Sony now has two good video game adaptation movie things under their belt. First one with Uncharted, it had no business being that good, but it is. Gran Turismo is the same way. I was thoroughly impressed with it. It's not insane, it's not groundbreaking or anything, but it's a good movie. I was genuinely
Okay.
impressed.
Dude, I'm
Uh,
gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it. I know Aaron was trying to see if we wanted to hop
yeah,
on and do something with him about that. I'm not sure if that's gonna work out or not. But
yeah,
let me ask you this: how did you watch it? Did you watch it like digitally? Like,
yeah. It came out digital, and so I just bought it on iTunes and then
okay,
download it to my phone and watch it like when I had time and stuff. And man, like
okay,
there's so I've got a few gripes with it, but I will say that when they do the racing sections, there's some really cool shots and there's some really good moments where like I genuinely was like, "Oh, I'm holding my breath right now. I need to breathe." Man,
okay,
it's really good. The actors did a good job, and man, it's come to find out the main character Jan, the him in real life actually was a stunt double in the movie, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, well that's
okay,
even cooler." So it's just
yeah,
yeah, it's really good. If y'all are like into cars at all, definitely check it out. If you like racing movies, it's a good time. It definitely has some of that Gran Turismo stuff in there. You can definitely tell. Obviously, it's marketed and stuff. They're trying to get you to play Gran Turismo, but the video game, like it plays a role in the game, but it's not as like in your face as what you may think it would be. It's still
sure,
present. It's a big part of like how the main character gets into racing, but it's not like Gran Turismo, the video game, the
yeah,
movie, that kind of thing. It's actually really good, and the story's pretty good. There's some good father son stuff in there that always hits me in the feels. So it was really really good, man. I like it.
excellent.
I might watch it again. It's one of those things where I'm like, I would watch
I'm
this again
I'm
easily.
definitely going to rent it, grab it on digital somehow, and watch it real soon. I want to see
Yeah.
it. But yeah, they've been. It kind of reminds me when you talk about how they subtly have like the game elements in the movie. Did you see Across the Spider Verse, Spider Man Across the Spider Verse, the new one?
I did. I did.
And when Genki is playing the Spider Man
I
PS5
did see
game
that,
or
yeah,
whatever.
when that came up, I was like, "Oh, that's the game," and my wife was like, "Oh, cool," and I'm like, "Alright, whatever, I think it's awesome," you know?
Yeah.
Um, we 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 can talk about that movie off air. I've
Okay. Yeah. No,
we'll
we're
I've got
Maybe for
thoughts.
another episode.
I can't say anything. I don't want to spoil it for people,
Sure enough.
Again, I'm in that mindset of like, if people enjoy it, I don't want to rain on their parade, and plus I don't want to
Sure.
spoil it. But
No, that's fine.
I will say they did my boy Miguel O'Hara some justice. They did him a little dirty, but we'll get into that another time. Another time. But yeah. That being said, dear listeners, thank you for checking out this episode of the Reformed Gamers. As always, if you like what we do here and you want to support us, you can go over to patreon.com and support us over there financially. Get yourself some extra perks such as early access to all of our episodes behind the scenes and more like a 2-hour long episode where me and Nate just kind of shoot the breeze and talk about some topics that go the gamut of talking about our fears to talking about microtransactions in games to, of course, talking about Marvel Snap, because when me and Nate get together, that's all we talk about is Marvel Snap. But if you can't support us financially, totally understand it. We're in the season of gaming where the floodgates have opened and maybe you're saving up for the new Assassin's Creed or Alan Wake 2 or, of course, Spider-Man 2. You can support us in a variety of other ways. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button down below, hit the like button, leave us a comment. Let's talk about some of the topics that maybe we missed an Xbox 360 game that you want to talk about. Let's get into it. You can also go over to our website, thereformedgamers.com, get access to some of our resources and things like that for your Christian walk. And then you can also follow us on Twitter as well, which, Micah, I almost lasted the entire 30 days to where my account would delete itself, but I'm back on Twitter. Because I was like, man, for this robotics team, it would be good if I could get on there and network with the corporations we're working with. If I could network with First Robotics, and help them out a little bit. So
you might want to hop back off, considering how Twitter is decided not to have headlines on like linked articles on their website anymore. But anyway,
why is it always when I come back to platforms they decide to make even more dumb mistakes? It's the same thing with Twitch. It's the same thing with Twitch. Oh my gosh, Elon, what are you doing, my guy? I saw real quick. I saw a funny meme on Reddit yesterday where it said like, what was it? Twitter is a parasite on social media, and this is like 2018 or something, and it said 2023. X is a parasite on social media, and it showed like Samus in her suit from like Metroid Fusion and like going after the X parasites. And I'm like, yeah, that's up my alley because Metroid. I don't know who understood that reference. I just thought it was cool. Anyway, if you like follow us on Twitter, go to our Discord server, have some fun in there, get connected with the community over there, and have a lot of fun. But with that being said, dear listeners, again, thank you for listening. And until next time, be a deer, keep it locked here, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to TRG. The show is fully supported over on patreon.com by our dear listeners. The following are our supporters at the producer level or higher, and we are thankful for their continued support that allows us to continue doing what we do here at TRG. Those people are Mr. Butts, David Matthews, Richard Marroquin, and Alan Z. Thank you again for your continued support over on patreon.com, where you can pledge your support to the show and get early uncut access to all of our episodes, behind the scenes, and more. Thank you for listening, and until next time, be a deer, keep it locked here. We'll see you in the next episode.